All right, family. We live once again. It's on with the general. You already know what time it is, man. We got that fire. Today we're gonna be talking about, man, the Epstein file situation. You know something is coming. You know something is coming. Oh, Melania Trump up in the White House didn't had her little press conference where she in there lying, knowing, crying and lying and you understand, trying to get ahead of that train. Cause that mean it's on the way. Anytime, that she just did a you know, I guess not an interview, but what the word is, where you just come before the people, a press conference. She did a press conference, came in front of the people and said that she was not connected to Epstein. And a lot of people, she's saying people's is lying well, what would they lie about? I'm trying to see what they would lie about. If people saw you, yeah, and she said, well, y'all went to the same, uh, they were invited to the same events. Why? Yeah, yeah, that's it. Birds of a feather flock together. Yeah, birds of a feather flock together. That's what it boiled down to. You see, and anytime you got to come and have a press conference in the White House to say you were not involved out of nowhere. I mean, I didn't see her name in the news as of recently. I didn't see her name in the news. But obviously something about to come down the pipe. Yeah, something about to come down the pipeline. And they getting ahead of it. So it's probably gonna be some information that's gonna come out. And I seen where but this was a while back. This was a while back where they said that, quite possibly Donald Trump met Melania Trump or whatever at a Epstein function. That's what they saying, man. That's what they saying. And so she's. I mean, you waited this long. You know what I'm saying? You waited this long to get ahead of that train. That information been out for a while now. You know, you supposed to get on top of that. You didn't let it marinate. You see, you didn't let it marinate on people's minds. You don't let if it's untrue, you supposed to get ahead of the train. You supposed to get right on it in some things. But but something is crazy as this. You ain't got to stay on it forever. But if it wasn't true, you should have made a serious statement the very first time. You should have made a very serious statement clarifying that you had nothing to do whatsoever long time ago. Got ahead of the train. You let it marinate. And so why is she coming out all of a sudden, wanna testify. She wanna testify. She wanna confess. She wanna go in the confessional and you know, clear her consciousness and tell the people that, and say that they should continue to investigate. That's what she said. You should have said that a long time ago, but that investigation includes your husband, you see, Donald Trump. And so is she distancing herself from Donald Trump? You know, is she distancing? Or do she see something coming down the pipeline where it's gonna get hot for Donald, and she wanna separate? You see herself, if that's possible. I don't think it's possible because they both entertain. In no way you gonna tell me you didn't see you either. They both were partying. We see the pictures. So you had, I mean, these are two wealthy men. You in the, I mean, you're there. You know what's going on. There's no way you can say you didn't see it. So what's happening here? What's so it's almost it's an underlining confession almost. It seemed to be some form of guilt, or is weighing on you to say something at this point. And most of the time it's pressure. Pressure make people come out and just and bare their soul. Pressure is making her come out and bare her soul. And so what is the pressure? Is something coming down the pipeline real soon on Donald Trump? You see, is some documents gonna verify that he was in there with the pedophiles and everything, and verified, that's gonna be the daggers. Them gonna be the daggers that you can't pull out, and so, but and a lot of, see, the thing is, you I mean, a lot of people had to see what was going on. It's one thing to say you wasn't, but a lot of people had to see what was going on. And maybe a lot of people not gonna say anything because they probably just as involved as the Trumps, as the Clintons, and a whole lot of other people that they're not talking about. Was over there with with Epstein. It's a whole lot of people was over there, man. They just show you, man, that elite class, that the Hollywood music is wicked. And I remember, they used to have all these what they call them, not Illuminati, conspiratorial. Where you got the conspiratorial groups, and they would be talking about all the queen and all these children coming up missing, and you would think like, yeah, I know some of them, but the way they they like it's everybody, and in the elite, and nah, when you see it, it's real. That's what the Epstein thing made it, wide open, that is real, that it's a lot of the elite, and they know what's going on. They know what's going on, and they involve. They involve a lot of and a lot of them keep their mouth quiet, even though they know what's going on. And that's, wow, the wicked agenda of these damn elites, to see this going on, and that's why you got to separate from this. It's a lot of, and again, you got to separate from this. In all totality. You can't. These. It's a lot of people involved, black too. You see? So, we try to make it seem no, a lot of these niggas got scales. They reptilians. And I'm not talking about the Naga. I'm talking about, we talking about the opposite side and frequency of that divine frequency. Slithering on their bellies, and you know what I'm saying, forked tongue. So even these niggas is an agenda, is in cahoots, and compliance, with this wicked shit. Them too. They support him. They support them. They support, and it's been going on. It did. It hear me when I tell you, it did not just start. It's been going on since they have surfaced. This is a reality. The Greeks and the Romans show it all over their damn art. It was okay, and that's wild that it was okay to be able to show this shit, in the Greek civilization, and and even listen and read, and they say these was the key factors to all their demise. And here they come back, and they still, but it's in their nature. You can't change somebody's nature. You cannot change nobody's nature. And a lot of people believe that it's an option, that they can be taught not to, it's a no, it's nature. That means is the more likely they involve themselves in practices like that, is you can't change nature like that. And so, that's why some of these, they don't even talk about the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts. They up there with the Catholic Church. Oh, they up there with the Catholic Church. You know, they don't even talk about the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts and all these children. That them is fronts. And they make it seem like they doing something for the babies and all of this and so on. And it ain't nothing but a front for them to get, children to sign up. You know what I'm saying? So they can continue. And I'm talking about troop leaders. I was reading this shit. I say, what? What? You know, man, you can't put your children in no shit like that, man. You cannot put your children in no shit like that, man, at all. Them days is long gone. You had to enjoy your children on your own, man. Straight up. You had to have your eyes on them at all times, and take them in whatever fun they gonna have. You make sure, you are, observant of any and everybody that come in contact with them, because this shit is rampant out here. Is rampant out here, for real, for real. And then when you see it's at the top, you already know what the bottom looking like. You know what I'm saying? Because the top look like the bottom, but but that just show you these people walking out here in the streets and just down in the third, you know. Whoa, so it's all around you. You can't deny it no more. You cannot deny it no more. So you most definitely have to be responsible for the security of your own children. You cannot be naive to believe that somehow that the world is, no, you cannot do it. You cannot. They got some teachers, man. There's senators, and yeah, it don't make no difference which ones it is. They all got that lowly nature, perverted nature, and they busting their ass every day in all sectors of society. All sectors of the priest, the politician, the president, you know, all the way down to the dirty beasts in the street, and a lot of them, it don't make no difference what colors they is, because a lot of them have intertwined in the Western ideology and practices, and then some of them try to outdo the Neanderthals, so they just as wicked, and so we try to, yeah, black is divine. Wait a minute, let me see if I got it. I got something on the stove. Yeah, black is divine, but you got to check. You got to check even your own, because they sick. A lot of them is sick, and so yeah, Melania is coming out to get it ahead of this train, and more likely something is coming down the pipeline. You see what I'm saying? Something is coming down the pipeline because she trying to get ahead. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Babysitters need she trying to get ahead of this train, that's coming. So yeah, family too. Most definitely. Family too. Got to. That's all they talk about. You know what I'm saying? That's you got to keep your eyes on everybody. You see what I'm saying? Watch your own kids, and if they want to have some fun, you got to be, you got to be the one that take them where they gotta go, and you know what I'm saying? Be on their ass and sneak back up, and You had to do that. Sneak back up when they think you're gone, and you had to keep your eye on them. When people see you on them like that, then they know. You feel me? It ain't no access. Ain't no damn access. But I appreciate y'all, man. And Melania, her name coming up in the file. She's in the file. Trump is in the files, and they gonna be just like the Clintons. Period. Hillary and Bill, they gonna be up there too. You see what I'm saying? All of them. So yeah, that's right. Well, anyway, family, I appreciate y'all, man. This is it for tonight. I appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all hit the subscribe, the like button, share this with your family and friends, comment, get over there in that chat, click a link, support the general, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. Boom. Black Power.